I recently attended a talk in New York from the Smith family, and there's a gentleman from Turkey discussing exactly this topic. He wants to promote a more Turkish government that has separation of church and state. And he specifically wants it to be more in the United States form rather than the Great Britain form, where it was actually, there was some sanctioned, state-sanctioned religion aspects. So I'm curious, what can we do to support that movement, or tell us thoughts about that?
Who is the person you're talking about?
I'm sorry, I didn't bring with me. Did someone remember?
The Turkish regime was created in the 20s and 30s by Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, and very much in the French mold, not of secularism, what we have, which is state neutrality, but laicism, or what they call in Turkish layıklık. And that is more comparable to France, and Mexico would be another example, of basically state antagonism towards religion. And many of the problems that Turkey is now undergoing is due to the fact that there has been this hostility by the state vis-a-vis organized religion. It's a complex relationship, a difficult one, a strained one. And one of the goals for Turkey that I would have would be what you're alluding to, is a more secular as opposed to laic relationship between state and...
That's exactly what this gentleman is saying.
Yeah, let me just add that I think one of the problems, and this is a problem of any political solution, if you will, is that you know what Atatürk tried to do is impose this anti-religion onto people that weren't interested in being non or anti-religious. What the Muslim world needs to go through is a much more fundamental change. It needs to go through what the West went through. It needs to go through the equivalent of an enlightenment. And it needs to relegate religion to private life. It needs to, you know, if there is such a thing as moderate Islam, the cornerstone, in my view, needs to be the separation of church and state. The rejection of the idea that the state has any role to play vis-a-vis religion. But what Islam needs to discover is what the West discovers. The Muslim world needs to discover is what the West discovered, which is reason, and the power and efficacy of reason. And until it does that, you're not going to be able to impose secularism on it. You're not going to impose anti-religion on it. This is a long-term educational struggle. And I think the thing most hampering the Muslim world, in my view, from attaining that status is the West. Is the fact that we don't believe in it anymore. Is that we reject, our own heritage. We don't understand the role of reason and individual rights in our own life, in our own political system. So in a sense, whereas what we should be doing is exporting that. For example, we've got nothing to export. And I think Europe, maybe more than any other, much more than the United States, is in that problem. This whole notion of multiculturalism is to a large extent what's killing Europe and allowing Islam to rise up as a political force, because Europe rejects reason and it rejects religion, and it's for nothing. And when you're for nothing, you create a vacuum. And the people who are most passionate about something are going to fill that vacuum. And the fact is, the Islamists are much more passionate about their Islam than the Europeans are about Western civilization. So they're filling the gap.